End of the year, but are we heading for the end of the world as we know it? Economic turmoil, wage rage over living pay, spiraling national debt, high unemployment with benefits for more than 1 million people expiring tomorrow. The current economic climate has, understandably, caused a lot of fear and some unrest. One financial expert says it may be time to brace for the worst and prepare for financial Armageddon. David John Murata joins us now. And you got quite a lot of attention because of this note you wrote in which the last thing you said, for those who actually think an Armageddon scenario may be about to play out, a firearm might be an arm. But that's not what you really believe is on the way. You think it's much more calm on the way, actually, right?
Well, we have a number of clients who were worried about the direction of the country, and they were pretty sure that putting all of their money into gold and burying it in the backyard was not the right solution. But they're very susceptible to financial Armageddon emails and videos and newsletters. So we took a typical one of those with 7 pieces of advice, and we analyzed each one of them for how they were bad advice, whether the world was ending or not, and then tried to supply some better advice in place. And number 5 was to store up on food and water and firearms. And our blog post basically said there's about 20 things you need before firearms. They are on the list, but there's about 20 things you need before them.
You need water. I mean, that's the most important thing for anybody. You're going to need
water,
about 3 gallons a day in the United States, right?
Yeah, you need 3 weeks of medications. You need stuff for your pets. You need a way to heat your house. You need a generator to supply. Here in Charlottesville, we were hit with a snowmageddon that our power was out for 3 weeks. We had a microburst that laid down all the trees like a bomb had gone off in the middle of the town.
Right.
And then we had an earthquake that rang the entire East Coast and destroyed one of our staff members' house at the epicenter. So there's a lot of things that you need an emergency pack for. And a firearm is on the list. We have deer in our backyard every day. So you can always eat if you have a firearm, and so it's always a good idea.
Let's talk about the financial realities of what's really at the heart of this. Is some people are afraid. There's always people who are predicting the end is nigh. Repent now, buy gold or Bitcoin, depending on what generation you come from. Give me an idea. You have roughly, what is it, $260 million under management. Who's your average client? Let's start there, because I think a lot of us can relate to these people. So who's your average client?
Our average client is, we have about 40% small business owners.
Okay.
And last year they had a target painted on their forehead for a tax hike. And this year they're looking at about $120,000 more in taxes. And we talk a lot about trickle-down economics, but we never talk about trickle-down taxation. And that is when you hit a small business owner with another $120,000 in taxes, he has to pay that by going to part-time workers, reducing his workforce,
so let me stop
raising his prices.
Again, because I want to build the connection. I think my audience can relate to these people who ask questions which seem outrageous, but actually are rooted in things that we all worry about. Small business owners, roughly how much on average? Don't betray anyone's privacy, but on average, how much do these people have invested with you? $500,000, $1 million?
Usually our small business owners have between $1 and $2 million.
Okay.
They're running a small business. They've got a good income, but the income entirely flows onto their personal taxes. And so we have the highest corporate tax rate in the world now, and we've just raised it up more than that so that most of these people have about a 50% tax rate.
These are the people who get hit because when you talk about the highest corporate tax rate, what one group of people will say is, but all kinds of businesses figure out how to get around them. Well, yes, the gigantic corporations do figure out how to get around them. But these people you're talking about, the small business owners with maybe $1 million invested with you, they're the ones who pay it. So they're the ones who are paying the higher taxes that come with the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare. They're also the ones who are seeing the contractions in an economy that isn't recovering at the pace it should be growing in a so-called recovery. Therefore, they're the ones who are more afraid, correct?
It's true. And some of them, one of the things most people don't realize is that the rich don't need to work. So some of them will look at the higher tax rate and they'll say, I'm not working to give the government another $120,000. I'm more than generous with the charities that I support and the people that I employ, but I'm not working for the government. I don't need to work, and so I could retire anytime I want. And so we've had a number of small business owners just say, I'm going to go John Galt and retire and let the country go. And they're afraid with the direction the country is going, but they don't feel like they're the Herculean Atlas that can move the world.
You've just referenced Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, in which the producers in our society, at least in the book, actually decide, you know what, we're going on vacation as opposed to redistribution of wealth. At the end of the day, the questions about Armageddon are really questions about, I am being required to pay more, to give more of my earnings, to do things that may not be working. That's at the root cause of that question that got you to write a note about Armageddon, correct?
That's correct. And it's much more likely that we'll have a long and drawn-out European malaise that anything precipitous would happen in this country. But I think it was Nassim Taleb, the author of The Black Swan, who said, the things that you really need to worry about are the things that are the unknown unknowns that you don't even see coming. And so that's what's on most people's minds, is these unintended consequences about the disincentives to produce in the country are producing in fragile systems, and we need infragile systems that are able to have the right feedback. And I think it was one of the things that you need to do is to have the people who pay, the people who benefit, and the people who decide if a service is given all be the same person.
Well, I never thought in 5 minutes we could answer the question, who is John Galt? But David John Murata, thank you very much for helping us, one, understand what was a serious response to what a lot of people think might be an outrageous question about Armageddon.